Hi, so welcome to 20 ideas using 2.5-inch strips. We're doing a whole lot of fun things through the website GourmetQuilter.com. So this is one of the things that we're doing this year, and we're doing 20 different ideas, and this is idea number 5, so we've already obviously done 4. And today we're going to be making a cushion. So we've got a cushion using some strips and some squares and just a very tiny little bit of applique. We've got a fairly plain back on it. We've got a zip so that we can get in and out, and I'll show you how to do the zip later, or well, later on in this video. So I just thought I'd show you the cushion. I think it's kind of fun. If you've already signed up to receive a pattern from GourmetQuilter, you'll have a pattern that looks a little bit like this. This is a couple of pages. It tells you what to cut and how to make it and everything, but I'm just here to show you. So I thought I'd just get started. I think it's kind of fun. I like it. It's had the vote of approval, so it can't be all bad. So what I'm going to do now is just talk a little bit about it. So because it's mostly sewing strips together and some squares, I didn't think you needed to see me actually doing that. So I've already made the cushion front. So I've joined in this time, instead of having the black squares that I've got going through that one, I'm having white ones. I thought we'd have a different look. I've got slightly different fabrics. And I've pressed all the seams of the white into the colours, although a little bit comes through, of course, when we press those seams to one side. So I've pressed all those to one side, but I've pressed all the white away from itself. And then we need a piece of batting and a lining. So something that's going to be right inside the cushion, so it almost never gets seen unless you turn it inside out, of course. So it's a good way of using up some fabric that perhaps you don't want to look at on the outside because nobody sees it on the inside, or something really nice, whatever you prefer. So I'm going to do a little bit of quilting. I'm not going to do very much. I'm going to do the same as I've done here, and what I've done here is just either side of the main seam lines I've just stitched, and I've just gone approximately 1/8 of an inch either side. So I've got a cotton batting here, I've got a cotton lining fabric, and I'm just going to go ahead. I don't even think, when it's cotton like this, if I just iron that, it actually grips really well. Because it's such a small piece, I don't think I actually even need to baste it. If you've got a synthetic batting or one that doesn't grip in the same way, it's not fusible, it's just cotton. You may find you want to do a little bit of basting and just put a few pins in just to hold it. But on these smaller pieces, it really isn't that much of a problem. So I'm just going to go to the machine now and do some quilting either side. As I said, about 1/8 of an inch. I'm using, I've actually got a nice little soft aqua colour thread. It's an opportunity to use even a variegated thread, something a little bit different. But I'm using the one colour across everything, and I've made my stitch a touch longer than normal. So for this machine, normal is 2.5 and I've put it to 3. So I just thought when I do quilting that that's a good way to do it, and I'm literally just going to go down each side approximately 1/8 of an inch away. So I will go ahead and do all this, and I will come back when I've done all the quilting so that you can see what we're going to do next. So I've gone ahead and I've done all the quilting. I've just done, as I said I would, the 1/8 of an inch either side. I should mention the reason for the 1/8 of an inch rather than going wider to 1/4 of an inch was because I'm doing these little appliques in the squares, and I didn't want my stitching to come too far in, so I thought 1/8 was maybe just about enough. So I've just started positioning these. I'm just using a fusible web, and I'm going to iron them on in place in a minute, and I'm actually just going to free motion stitch them on. You wouldn't have to free motion, especially if you do something like the triangles like I've done, because you could just straight stitch around those. And just remember, we're going to be losing some around the edge as well, so when you position the 2 corner ones, make sure there's a larger gap around the 2 sides there. So they're just little triangles that are just haphazardly positioned. I think that's kind of fun. I'm just going to iron those in place, and then I'm just going to do a little bit of free motion stitching on those. So I'll do one of those to show you what I'm doing in case you're not a free motioner. I do like to free motion stitch. I think it gives so many possibilities to things. So what I've done is set my machine up for free motion. I've dropped the feed teeth. I've got a little open toe free motion foot on. Other than that, I haven't really made any changes except for the colour of my thread. So I'm just going to go around one of these. So it's just really a matter of starting. I just start with a couple of stitches on top of each other because that locks the thread off, and I can trim the thread then. And I'm just stitching on the applique but close to the edge. So up to the point and then along here. When it's something as small as this, you can turn your work if you don't feel comfortable going sideways, backwards and all those different directions. But it just allows a little bit of freedom, and then again a couple of stitches just to lock off the thread at the end. And it's really that simple. One of those is on there already. You could just do it with straight stitch, you could do a little blanket stitch, you could do any number of things. I'm just doing the free motion stitch. So I'll go ahead and do the rest of those and then come back and show you how we start getting the backing ready. So I've gone ahead, I've finished doing all my triangles, and I've just done most of the trimming up. We need to trim this up to match the front measurements now, so that we can trim away the batting and the backing excess that's sitting there. So when I'm doing this sort of trimming, I like to line things up with my board so that I can keep things fairly square. So I'm lined up with a line there, and I've done one side here, and down here is looking pretty good, just so that things stay fairly square, because things can move a bit, particularly when we've been doing a little bit of quilting. And this is actually sitting really nicely, so that's really good. So I'm just going to trim off this level with the front fabrics there. Just like we do when we're making a quilt. Really, it is now a small quilt, it just needs binding and you have a quilt. So we've got some quilting showing on the back there. So that's kind of fun. So we're ready to move that to one side now and start making the back of the cushion. So the back of the cushion doesn't have any batting in it, the way I've made it, but it does have a zipper so that we can get a cushion insert inside and out. So what I've done is I've cut my fabric double. I think it's because it's not having any batting, I think double fabric is nice. And there's two pieces because the zip is actually to one side. It could be on the lower side. I mean, it depends which way you put the cushion up really. But it's not in the middle. You could put it in the middle. It's really a matter of where you'd like to have that the zipper. So I'm going to have it to the lower edge, or to one side like that one is. So I've got my two pieces of fabric, so one's larger than the other, and because it's double, quite a lot larger. So I've pressed the fold in there because I want the fold in there, but we're going to sew these two together and then pop the zipper in between. So we open this one out again with our fold there, and with our smaller or second piece, we just want to line that fold up with that fold there to get started, and then we can open this one out. So this is right side up and this is right side down, so they're right sides together. Open that out and just push that. So this fold is now lined up top and bottom. And then we just want to measure in. So the zipper, perhaps I should bring this down. The zipper sits within the space here. So not right to the very edge. It could go to the very edge, but I think it's often a little bit awkward to have a zipper going into the side there. So that's what we have to mark for that now. So we just want to mark in, and the pattern has all this information on it. So we just want to make a mark on this side, and we want to make a mark on this side for the length that the zipper is going to be. So the zipper that I'm putting in is longer. I always like to work with zippers that are a bit longer, because the right length is always just a little bit inconvenient at times because of the little ends and things on the zippers. So now we need to just sew along this line, and coming up to the first mark that I've made, and I may just draw my line on there as well because I think I'm just going to have trouble seeing that fold when I'm sewing. So you could draw your line, that's the fold line that we put in, so that you can see where you're sewing if it's not so easy to see. In some fabrics it's easier than others. So we're going to sew right the way along this line, but we're going to sew up to this marker as normal with a regular stitch length. Then we're going to, without taking it out, but we'll do a little back stitch. Then we're going to do a super long stitch, whatever the longest is that your machine will do, like a basting stitch. And then again, when we get to the marker at the other end, do a little back stitch on this side of it and come down there, because these two bits will stay. This will open out with the zipper in it. So it's like a basting that we're doing. It just makes it a little bit easier to pop the zipper in. So I'll just do the stitching now. So I'm on a regular stitch length and everything at the moment, and I'm just going to come into my first marker, and I'm going to do a little back stitch there just to hold that and come back to the marker, and then I'm going to make my stitch length as long as it can go, and this machine will go up to 6, pretty big stitch. So it's just a basting. So I just might put that on first. So I'm just going to follow that line along now, so giant stitches just to hold those edges together. Until I get to that point again, then I want to bring my stitch length back down again to its normal 2.5ish, and again just do a little back stitch just to hold that there, and then out to the edge again. And this cushion might like to come back up. So what we've now got, if we fold this one out of the way and fold that one back how it was, so this is the right side, if I pull that apart a little bit, you can see that that's quite open at that seam because the stitch was so large. So if there's a right and a wrong side to what you're working with, if you're happier with one piece than another piece, now's the time to decide which is your right and wrong side. For me, I don't think there's a right and a wrong side here. So I'm just going to position my zipper now on the wrong side. So this is the wrong side, the inside of my cushion. And I'm going to open the zipper out and position it. So the marker that we did, I can still see, or you can remark it on here. It's good to have a mark where we did that stopping and starting of the basting. So I've got the zipper open and right side of zipper facing down, and this is the inside of the cushion facing up. So I'm just going to, here's my marker here, but I'm going to just extend it along a little bit further. But I want the zipper teeth, I'm just going to sew down one side initially. I want the zipper teeth to line up with the seam that I've just sewn with that giant stitch. So it may be helpful to put a pin in just to get started, but in general it'll just stitch for you. So we're going to stitch on this zipper. There's usually that mark sort of 1/4 of an inch away from the teeth on zipper tape. So we're going to stitch pretty much along there, all the way down to where the marker is down there, just with the zipper open like that. So I'll go ahead and do that. So I've got my zipper foot on my machine. I find that works really well. I've got my teeth lined up with my seam here, and I'm just going to be stitching right along that sort of line in the zipper tape there, or something like that, all the way full length. And I'm going to stop where my marker is there and do a little back stitch and take that out from there. So what we've got now is a zipper half in. It's looking pretty good. This is the right side. We've got a nice line of sewing along there. So now we just want to pull this. We want to do the same thing on this side, but we've got to make sure that we've got that zipper pull within cooey so that we can pull it up afterwards, but it just gets a little bit in the way. So what I've been finding is that if I just leave it down as I start sewing, because there is a little gap, you can actually just push that through once you've done the sewing. So I'm going to probably start at this end. I can pull that a little bit out of the way and bring it up and push it. It is possible to push it in without it being too hard. And so again, I'm lining the zipper teeth up with the seam again, or right next to the other zipper teeth, and I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm going to stitch all the way along. So I'll go ahead and do that, and then I'll show you how we deal with the ends. So I'm coming up, I'm nearly at the other end. This is my marker just here where I started sewing on the other side. So we're just going to stop there and leave the needle in, and now stitch across the zipper to the other point where we started sewing, and then reverse back over again. If it doesn't want to reverse, you can always turn it around and lock it off, and then you can take that out. By doing that extra line of sewing, it just makes it extra secure for the zipper there. So that's that end done. That's looking pretty good here as well. So now we've just got to make sure we've got this zipper pull inside before we stitch the other end. So I'm just going to push that, and you can just push it through a little bit without it being too inconvenient, just so long as it's inside there. That's the main thing, and it is in there now. So this is my stitching point here. So now I'm just going to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to stitch across a couple of times there from where we stopped and started before. So right across the zipper, just take it slowly over the zipper, and if it doesn't want to go, and sometimes it doesn't, that's okay, we can just turn it round and stitch this way. And I'll probably go back again this time, and then I can just lock that off. So we now have a zipper, beautifully set in, but we can't get to it. How about that? That's pretty impressive, isn't it? So now we just want to remove that basting, and our zipper's already done. So it's just a matter of getting it opened up, and then you can easily just unpick that amount. Because we did the little back stitch front at the beginning and the end when we were changing the size of the stitching, it won't go beyond there. So we can do all this fairly quickly and easily. We just have to pull the threads out afterwards. But this is a great way to pop a flat zipper in that's got an even covering. So there's just this last little bit here where the zipper pull is hiding in there, and there it is. Look, it's quite happy to see us. So we just need to then tidy up by pulling out all these threads from the basting, snipping them off, whatever it is that it takes. I'll do that bit later. And that zipper is now sitting quite comfortably in there, so I think you'll find that that's a great way to put a zipper in flat like that. We don't need all this excess here, so we can now just cut off the excess zipper bit, and both ends if you've left a little bit at this end as well. So that's looking pretty good, I think. I'll just need to deal with those threads sometime. So now what we need to do is pop it together with a cushion front, because we're just going to bind it like a quilt, but we're putting this on the back like a backing, but we're not quilting through it. So it's a matter of just trimming. The backing is slightly larger, and that was to allow for any little anomalies that can occur when we're doing all these things. So the same as when we trimmed up the backing from the front, we need to trim up that, and then we're just going to put a binding on, just the same as we bind a quilt. So this is the edging that I've got on here. This particular one here, I've actually used 3 different fabrics. I didn't have enough of one, so I thought I'd just use 3 strips and cut even lengths and join them all diagonally, and that's really nice. This one here, I also haven't got enough of one fabric, but I've got 2 fabrics, so I've just cut 2 strips in half and join them diagonally, and I'll just bind it with that all the way around, and it will meet up somewhere. There will be enough fabric there. This one took 3 strips, interestingly. This one will only take 2 strips because of the extra joins in this one, using up the fabric. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll get the binding on, and I'll show it to you when it's all finished. So I'm just coming around the last corner. I'm machining my binding on, so I put it first onto the back, and now I'm rolling it round to the front, and I'm machining it down. So I just thought I'd show you the last little corner. So coming up to the corner, so I like to bring that straight out, that fold, and then fold it over so that you get the nice mitre. I've done other tutorials on binding. I did one the other day with the placemat with 2.5-inch strips, but I have a tutorial just on binding on GourmetQuilter on YouTube, if that's any help to anybody. And now I'm just coming along the last stretch, back to where I started. I just started along here. So when I do it this way, a lot of people like to put their binding on other ways, because this is just how I would bind a quilt. It does mean with the way I do it, because this comes over, that there is a little line of stitching just inside the binding, which I personally don't mind. It doesn't worry me, you don't really notice it there. However, just so that you know, it is there. If you use a matching thread, it doesn't really show. So I'm pretty happy in general with my cushion. I've got my little zipper here, and that little zipper pull hides pretty well underneath that little piece that's just there. I've got to go through and still pull out some of my threads from the basting. And that's the cushion. Probably should put a filler in it so that you can see it full. Let's put my filler here, which is an exciting stage to see a cushion all done. So I'm just using a ready-made cushion insert. I think that works pretty well for me. And I now have a nice pair of cushions. So how fun is that? So that's the one with a lighter accent, lighter binding, and this one darker, and slightly different fabrics, but kind of similar in a way. So they would work together well. I just hope you've enjoyed making that cushion using some 2.5-inch strips, and I will see you again with 2.5-inch strips ideas. I think number 6 is next. Right, we've got a couple of nice new cushions if we want them all.